All right, hey, so I wanted to show you some things that I do in my containers that might help you have better success. So you can see here I took the very end of a branch, I took the whole entire thing instead of the leaves. I try to put some inside of the containers. I try to put some of this structure in there so that they can climb. They like to climb, right? And if you have a bunch of these things, you'll see that sometimes they'll get stuck down in the bottom of the container. They get stuck with poo all over them. If it's wet in there, they can die. You want them to be off the ground if possible. So I'm gonna kind of show you what I mean. So I'm gonna take this container, I'm gonna move some lights around here. Top off. This one's broken, but I really like this container. All right, let's see what we got in there. See, there's lots in this guy. And as you know, probably they hide on you. There's some there, a bunch here. So what I'm gonna do is what I've shown you before. I take this by the corners, I pick the whole thing up and move it out. Okay, then I check in here to see if there's any guys in there, or girls. There's not. You can see though, so I'm gonna move mine in you know how I told you that I keep mine in the barn. It's super humid today. You can see this, can you see it? On the bottom here, this is bad, very bad. So my wife's gonna be very upset, but I'm going to put these in our guest room on the guest bed. I've got a bunch of big containers. This is the smallest container I have. I saved this one just for you guys. So I'm just gonna empty this. Okay. I want to make sure it's dry in there, right? So I'm going to take another dry paper towel. I use a lot of paper towel. No, I don't feel bad about it. I feed it to my worms, which are right here on the floor in the barn in the bins. Yes, I'm weird. Okay. All right, so let's get that in there. All right, so the first thing I do, I've got my new, let me adjust this a little. I really want it to be straight because I'm crazy. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna put this in here. Like I said, I want them to be able to climb up on this. So I try to, obviously this is gonna sag after a couple of days, but if you have a little bit of structure here, like this thicker stem, you're able to, so a couple tricks before I get ahead of myself. So I knew I was gonna have to change today, and I have a lot of caterpillars in here, right? So sometimes what I do is if it's going to be 2 or 3 days, I'll come out here and I'll put a newer leaf. You can see this guy's pretty new, right up on top. Typically, you'll get a lot of the bigger, older, stronger caterpillars will climb right up on this. See, there's a bunch on here. I put this in here yesterday, and all I'm going to do with this whole thing is I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in that new container that I just cleaned. You've got to obviously go through the rest of these and pick them out. So this one's covered, but if you put a new piece in there, you might get a bunch of them on there. But otherwise, you got to go through leaves like this. One little guy there. There's a couple in there. Typically, what I'll do is I'll just pluck these leaves off and throw them in the bin because, it could take again, if you've only got 10 or 12, it's not a big deal. You can keep track of them. But to be honest, what I typically do is I have another bin that I keep to the side here that I throw all the things that I think that there's nothing on away. And then I throw a new piece on top of that too and then close that. A lot of times I'll come out and there'll be 10 of them on there because it's even though I have the eye and I can spot these things pretty good, when you go through bin after bin after bin, a lot of times you just miss them. Sometimes they're down here on the bottom, in line with the stem. Sometimes they're on the back of a leaf. Who could say? So I'm gonna go through and trim these all. I'm not gonna make you watch all that, but see, these ones are, these branches have been in here for a while and they're very chewed through, but there's lots on here. So this one I might just put the whole thing in. I see there's probably 15 caterpillars on this. So I just put it in there, whatever. It's not that serious. What I'm really trying to do here is get all this cat scat out of here. This looks pretty good too. It's not too bad, a little chewed, not very sagged. I'll kind of tap the leaves like this, try to get all the poo off. You can see there's lots of it over there in the corner. Look at that. That's what we want to avoid. If there's caterpillars down in that area, it's not good. So I'll sometimes just trim these up. Because this is kind of too big for my container, so I'll just cut each little mini branch off here, just so that there's not so much structure in there. So this is what I've got here. I'm gonna switch them. So I'm gonna move the super dirty one and put the clean one in there, and then I'll just try to pick the rest of them off. But yeah, so this is about how big your guys should be now, for the most part, right? I haven't really gone over molting. They've definitely molted once by now. If some of you nerds, I'm sure, already know about instars and the cycles that caterpillars go through, I will do a whole entire video on that, and we'll talk about it. It's fine to do with Lunas. You can see them. However, with Cecropia, for instance, it's far more visible and easier to see. They start off black, they turn green, they get these crazy colors that come basically essentially horns on their heads. Same thing with Regalis. They're also beautiful, and they change dramatically from phase to phase. It's not as dramatic with the Lunas, although it's still very cool. So here's a bigger one. So yeah, so this is basically what I'm doing. I'm doing this every couple of days. You know, oh, here's one. So I put this down to the side thinking it was empty, and this guy just kind of came up over the side. And you can see him, he's got those kind of purplish black on the top. I don't know how clear we can see it. We're gonna be able to see it in the video, but yeah, that's what they should look like at this point. Very cool. He's pretty active, but yeah, so this one was all chewed up. I thought it was empty. There's a couple on here. Again, I'm just gonna stick this in here, kind of tuck it to the side. And then, depends on how often you check them. I'm guessing if you just started doing this, you're probably looking at them every day, which is great. I try to do that, but can't always do it. Next week, when I shoot my video, I'm gonna be in Maine. I'm gonna take all of my caterpillars with me, like a real big weirdo. I'm gonna have to find a food source when we get there. I'm sure my wife's gonna be psyched that I'm gonna use a whole bedroom in the house we rented for caterpillars. We'll see how that goes over. I'll keep you posted on that as well. But yeah, email me with any questions. You know, it's just kind of status quo. This is how it's gonna be until, we start to get to the end. I will say that I've switched mine from, remember I had most of mine in these small containers. Here's an example. This is, again, disgusting. I just cleaned this one out. This is not one of the ones that I had caterpillars in. That was on the floor. This is the one I had some caterpillars in. These guys are clean. And I moved them into this. It doesn't even really fit into there. Let me just take the top off. So I moved them into this container. It's very big. I guess it's actually it's got a label on it. It's a 56 quart. So it's 16¼ by 12 inches high by 23 long. So it's 2 feet by 1.5-ish. You can see there's lots in there. I stacked it really deep, hoping that I won't have to change it as often, which is probably just wishful thinking. I'm sure that I'll have to change it again in a couple of days. There's probably 500 caterpillars in that one. So, okay. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Try to keep them inside. If you're anywhere in the Northeast where it's super hot right now, put them in air conditioning. Even if your significant other gets mad about it, it really will help them. It also will make your leaves last longer. They won't wilt as quick. So, good luck.